All right, it is 6 o'clock on August 23rd. I'm calling our meeting of the Board of Adjustments and Appeals to order. Let us all stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Kim, may we have roll call, please?
Chairwoman Smith Rodriguez.
Here.
Vice Chairman Taylor.
Here.
Member Beckles.
Here.
Member Van Deven. Here. Member Wheelis.
Here.
And turning it to, we have a quorum present. Turning it to the board, if you would all please take a look at the minutes if you haven't already done so. And upon review, let me know if there's any changes. Otherwise, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of July 26, 2023.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
I have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
Wait,
All right.
I just have a question. Should I abstain since I wasn't here, so I don't know if they're
Oh, an
accurate?
abstention is fine.
Okay.
That's sufficient.
Actually, all members who are here need to vote on any action
No,
item.
I wasn't here. No, I wasn't here.
On the minutes?
I wasn't at the last meeting.
She didn't
so
know
I
whether
don't,
the minutes were accurate or not because
because
she
I
wasn't
wasn't
present.
here.
But that's not a valid basis for abstaining, according to the rules.
Okay.
Well,
rephrase.
I'll say
I'll
yes.
rephrase. Dr. Beckles, do you happen to notice any deficiencies or changes needed in the minutes?
No, they look accurate based on what we typically have.
Okay.
I'll say that.
So any objection to approval?
No
of the minutes?
objections.
All right. So I'll take that as an approval then, yes?
Yes.
All right. All approved. All right, moving on to our quasi-judicial confirmation procedures. I'm going to read a little blurb to our public and our participants here today. All persons who anticipate speaking on a public hearing item must fill out an oath card to be heard on that agenda item and sign the oath contained thereon. These cards are located at the table near the entrance to council chamber, or they may be obtained from our recording secretary. This meeting will be conducted in accordance to the procedures adopted in Resolution 24-1997. Those speaking in favor of a request will be heard first, those opposed will be heard second, and those who wish to make public comment on the item will speak third. The applicant may make a brief rebuttal if necessary. A representative from either side, for or against, may cross-examine a witness. Anyone who speaks is considered a witness. If you have photographs, sketches, or documents that you desire for our board to consider, they must be submitted into evidence and will be retained by the city, and those exhibits will be submitted to our recording secretary. So for those of you in our audience, if you intend to speak on any item, yours or otherwise, please be sure to fill out that oath card. All right. Mr. Mesnick, has our items been properly advertised today?
Yes, it has.
Thank you. And to our members of our board, has any member visited any of the sites or spoken with anyone regarding our agenda items today?
No.
No across the board and no for me as well. We do not have a consent agenda today, nor do we have old business, so we will move right into new business, which actually starts with the election of officers for the Board of Adjustments and Appeals. Is there instructions?
The general instructions are that there shall be a nomination for the chair, and then if there's any, the chair can call for a nomination and then a subsequent nomination if there are any, and then either do unanimous vote if there's only one, or have a roll call vote for the various names, and then you follow suit with vice chair and secretary. And the main purpose of having vice chair and secretary is to fill in for the chair in their absence.
Okay, so hearing council's directions, I will entertain a nomination if anyone is so inspired. For chair.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I nominate you as the chair.
Okay, nomination for me, Kristen Smith Rodriguez. I accept that nomination. Any other nominations to the position of chair? Okay, hearing none, vote on one by one. Vote now.
No, you can do group.
The whole group, okay. I will now entertain a nomination for vice chair.
I'll nominate Mr. Taylor for vice chair.
Mr. Taylor, you've been nominated. Do you accept your nomination? Yes. He accepts. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? No. And secretary, you said, right?
Actually, no, I'm taking that back. There's no secretary on this board.
I know. I was thinking, I'm like, is Kim quitting? Or like, where are we going with this?
Apologize.
Okay. All right. So we have nominated for chair would be myself and vice chair, Mr. Taylor. I guess we can do a unanimous. So, okay. Is there a unanimous vote to approve the slate of officers as nominated by Mr. Willis?
Yes.
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 And yes across the board. Okay. Our officers are now hereby, I guess, reinstalled. We're all sitting here in our current positions and our future positions. All right. Let us move down to our next agenda item, which now I don't know which page it is on because our PDF is slightly modified, but it is variance 15-2023 at 1715 Craig Avenue. Mr. Mesnick? Is it 11?
I believe it's page 11.
I know it. PDF, Adobe updated. I'm sorry, folks. We're usually much more technology savvy. Put it into the update and cripple a board here.
All good? All right. So this is variance number 15-2023, located at 1715 Craig Avenue in Titusville, Florida. The variance requested is for Land Development Regulations, Chapter 28, Section 28-305, for single-family high density, to allow less than the minimum required lot width of 65 feet to revert back to the original plot plan for property located in the single-family high-density zoning district. The current future land use is medium-density residential. The zoning is single-family high-density. And the surrounding zoning districts to the north, south, east, and west are all single-family high-density as well. The lot characteristics, the subject property is a vacant 0.26 acre rectangle lot with frontage along Craig Avenue. The lot is two combined lots, each with a width of 50 feet. To the north, east, and south are single-family homes, and to the west is a vacant lot. And the current use for this lot is a vacant residential lot. So the powers of the BAA, Section 34-226 states that the board shall grant a variance request when, in the opinion of the Board of Adjustment and Appeals, owing to special conditions, the literal enforcement of such ordinance or regulations would do manifest injustice to or impose an unnecessary hardship upon the applicant. In order to authorize any variance to the provisions of such ordinance, the board must consider the following criteria. Special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved and which are not applicable to other lands, structures, or buildings in the same zoning. Special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. Granting the variance requested will not confer upon the applicant any special privilege that is denied by the ordinance to other lands, building, or structures in the same zoning district. The literal interpretation of the provision of the ordinance would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same zoning district under the terms of the ordinance. The variance granted is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. The granting of the variance will preserve the spirit of the ordinance and remain in harmony with its general purpose and intent. In granting the variance, the public safety and welfare must be assured. In no case shall granting of a variance result in a change of use which would not be permitted in that zone. So in the analysis, the applicant is requesting a variance to allow less than the required minimum lot width of 65 feet to revert back to the original plat from 1953. Section 28-305C of the Land Development Regulation states lot width minimum is 65 feet. The applicant is seeking a variance to create 2 buildable lots to construct 2 affordable homes. The original individual lots are rectangular with a 50 feet width and 115 feet depth. A deed from 2000 from the Property Appraiser Office website shows that the 2 lots were split off from the neighboring lots to the north, lots 40 and 41. When a lot is non-conforming, Titusville Land Development Regulations, Section 34-347, non-conforming lot states, lots made non-conforming by the adoption of these land development regulations shall comply with the following remedies. Where 2 or more non-conforming lots with continuous frontage are under the same ownership, or where a non-conforming lot has continuous frontage with a large tract under the same ownership, such lot or lots shall be combined to form 1 or more building sites meeting the lot requirements of the district in which they are located. The property currently meets the zoning district standards for the R-1C and is a conforming parcel to the zoning district width and size requirements. Staff recommends denial of the variance. There are no special conditions or circumstances which are peculiar to the land that are not applicable to other lands in the same zoning. But by splitting the 2 lots, the applicant will be creating a hardship that the land development regulations provide a remedy to in Section 34-347, non-conforming lots. The intent of the code is to bring properties into conformance. By granting the variance requested, the applicant will be receiving a special privilege that is otherwise denied by the ordinance in other lands of the same zoning.
Thank you. Does our board have any questions of staff? Mr. Mesnick?
As the lot sits now, 2 originally platted lots have been combined, and it is now a conforming lot. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And the basic rule that I'm under the impression of is that we cannot create a nonconformity.
If you create a non-conforming lot, it would not be a buildable lot without a variance to it.
Are the 2 lots now formally 1 lot, or are there 2 separate lot numbers and deeds to 2 separate lots?
They are 1 lot as on the warranty deed.
Any other questions to staff? Seeing none. Ms. Kim, our first card, please.
Jeremiah Afori.
Mr. Afori? Yes. Come on up. Would you first please state your name and address?
My name is Jeremiah Ofori, address 121 Drennan Road in Orlando, Florida.
Okay, thank you. You have the floor,
All
sir.
right. I guess the couple things. One, they are 2 lots, 2 different lot numbers, meaning 39 and 40, which was combined to make 2 lots. They were all platted as to be 2 single-family lots, single-family residential lots. So I'm requesting a variance to go back. So I think somebody asked the question, will we be creating non-conforming lots? And I would say no, because the lots are already created. They were platted that way back before. The current lots currently have sewer and water. They're available for the single-family homes. But our intent is to create more housing, all right? I think Titusville tomorrow, we're trying to take these infill lots, which are just single lots, just sitting in built out areas, and try to put homes on them and create affordable homes. So our intent and request for the variance is to allow us to do so. There are existing lots that are 50 feet wide in the area, so I don't think we're creating a detriment to the community. I think we're assisting the community in this. So based on, Titusville tomorrow and the infill lots, the fact that there's already utilities there that allow and support the additional single-family homes, we were requesting this variance today.
Okay, don't go anywhere, thank you. Any questions, Mr. Ofori?
Yes. Go ahead. Your intent is to build homes for sale or to build homes that will be rented out, sir? I mean, are you planning to
Both.
make them for rental?
Both. If you're asking me in the past, I've done 50-50. So we've just done 4 affordable homes on maybe about a half a mile away from here, and we did 50-50. So we did sell 2, created affordable housing and for them, and 2 we rented out. Well, I'll take that back. 1 is rented now, and 1 is still on the market to be rented.
For rent?
Okay, yes.
Is that the ones right on South Street there?
No, those are the ones on Kenilworth off South Deleon.
All right.
And we have another batch that's in permitting now, that's in the same area.
Thank you.
All right.
If I'm understanding you correctly, the original plat from 1953, did that permit 50-foot wide lots?
Yes,
And so when you say there are 50-foot wide lots in the neighborhood, those houses presumably were built in accordance with that plat 50 years ago, more than that.
not all. So the way the code reads, and you can chime in. So the problem here is that these were combined, and I am the owner of both lots. In the neighborhood, if there's a 50-foot lot, and I only own that one 50-foot lot, I'm able to build on it, that non-conforming lot, based on the approval of the building department. The problem is if I were to own 2 lots next to them, then they're called non-conforming lots, in which the city wants me to combine them to make one lot. And the purpose today of this variance is, yes, we can do that, but we're limiting ourselves as a city because now we only have 1 house when we have the potential to build 2. And all the facilities are there to allow for those 2.
If you know, in the neighborhood or the area that you're talking about, are there other lots that were combined that have 1 house on it in that area, the immediate area?
I don't know the answer to that.
I'll ask staff as a follow-up in a little bit.
Okay.
Any other questions to Mr. Ofori? No. Thank you, sir. You can
Okay.
be seated. Ms. Kim, any other cards?
No, ma'am.
All right, no other cards. I'll close the public portion of this hearing. I'll bring it back to the board discussion amongst ourselves, but I will draw my question over to Mr. Mesnick. Do you know the answer?
So there are houses that are, based on the plat, would be 2 lots that are located on 2 lots. However, there are some houses as well that are also on a single lot that is 50-foot wide. If you look at, I believe, page 22, you can see the aerial view. And you can see that some houses are sitting on larger lots that are closer to size in what the lot we're talking about today.
All right, thank you. Any other
And
questions?
it's required to have 65 feet? Is that what it is?
The
requirement-
minimum requirement is
It's
65.
65.
Yes.
The statement that the applicant made, as if he just had 1 single lot, that the building department would approve a house to be built on it, is that a correct statement, sir? If he did not own both lots, that he just owned 1 of the lots?
So if you, on page 27, section 34-347, non-conforming lots, it provides remedies to having a lot that's does not, the non-conforming lot that has been adopted by the regulations and doesn't comply. the first remedy is that the two or more non-conforming lots that are under the same ownership must be combined, or shall be combined, to form one conforming lot. The second one is the building official may issue a building permit for a single-family dwelling on any non-conforming lot, provided that the remedy set forth in this section cannot be complied with, that such use is permitted, and that the regulations of the district in which the lot is located are met, and all other regulations are met. So the building official may issue a building permit for a lot that is less than 50 foot wide, or less than 65 foot wide, if they can meet remedy number one.
Okay, thank you.
I'll share my thoughts to the board. The land development regulations 34-347 are extremely clear, so much so that it references the Board of Adjustments and Appeals when we are authorized to authorize the issuance of a building permit. But what is interesting in this particular matter is that, which is one of the frustrating things that we experience with our code and our land regulations, is that the applicant is asking for nothing more or less than what was previously in existence. So granting his request puts the neighborhood as it was and partially is in violation of our current code, but it would not appear to actually provide a greater benefit to that particular neighborhood where the other houses were in compliance with the 1953 plat of 50 feet. So it is an interesting concept.
I agree also with that philosophy. If it were a whole bunch of, looking at the plat maps, if just about every other house was on two lots, I would agree that it shouldn't be split down, but this is a very old platted area, and there are a lot of 50-foot wide plotted maps in there.
Mr. Mesnick, looking at PDF page 22, that aerial view, and I see the red square, the property that we're talking about, am I to understand that, for instance, to the right of that red square, slightly lower, there's like 3 smaller lots? I assume that's from the original plot, and would that be those 50-foot lots or 50-foot width lots we're talking about?
So, yeah, those most likely for the 50-foot lots. Those houses, I'm unsure, could have been built before the new land development regulations took place, back in the 50s. However, I'm unsure. It could have also been that they are under separate ownership, and the building official issued a permit.
Do you know if the house plans would be in violation of anything else, like total square footage or?
I am not aware of any house plans. He did not submit one with the site plan. So I wouldn't be aware of. Generally, from what I've seen, through permits, is that most of the time they can fit within the land development regulations for the R1C within the setbacks. They can, sometimes, yep.
Any other questions to staff or discussions amongst the board?
Just a basic thought I'd like to share with everyone, and that is that it appears that the owner of the property is being, in my opinion, unfairly penalized for owning 2 properties when he could build a house on either one of those lots if they were in the shape of the original plat. And I have a real problem with that.
Anyone else? And if the answer is no, I will entertain a motion to either approve or deny that variance.
I will make a motion to approve variance number 15-2023 at 1715 Craig Avenue to allow two separate properties for purpose of building single-family homes.
Okay, I think that's a sufficient motion at the moment. Any second?
I'll second the motion with clarification that we're allowing a 65-foot minimum frontage. No,
Less than the minimum
Less than-
required, 65.
correct. Less than the 65-foot required minimum.
I agree.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Can you
no,
put,
Dr. Eccles, go ahead.
can you put like that it has to be in regulation with total square feet or a condition in there like that?
My thoughts were along the
Nice.
same line, that my understanding was that each lot would have a 50-foot width, was my understanding from the testimony offered, and I think that might be a little bit more clear than simply saying less than 65. Council
I would
suggestion?
agree, yes, that the amount of the reduction should be clearly specified in the motion. That's what the request was. It should, that the motion be amended to say 50 feet width for each lot.
I will agree.
Okay, so the motion is hereby amended by the move-in. Does the second still hold?
I still agree, yes.
I would just further add that the variance does not change any other land development regulation requirements as far as the square footage or anything else regarding the lot. The only variance that's being granted is as to the width.
Agreed.
Okay, so we have our motion to allow for less than 65 feet to specifically no less than 50-foot width on the lots. We have a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Chairwoman Smith Rodriguez,
Yes. Vice
Vice Chairman Taylor,
Yes.
Member Beckles,
Yes.
Member Van Deven,
Yes.
Member Wheelis.
Yes,
Okay, so the variance is approved, is granted. So you all are welcome to stay, listen to the rest. You're welcome to head out, but you are permitted to take the course of action pursuant to your variance request. Please be sure to get with the building department and the city for anything else. Good luck to you all. All right, we are moving down to PDF page 28, variance 17-2023 at 3506 Fox Hollow Drive. Mr. Mesnick?
Variance number 17-2023 at 3506 Fox Hollow Drive. The variance request is for Land Development Regulations, Chapter 30, Section 30-332, required landscape yards, to allow less than the minimum required landscape yard of 20 feet, and Section 30-382, design, to waive the requirement of a terminal island that is otherwise required for each row of interior parking spaces to terminate the row of parking for property located in multifamily high-density residential zoning district. The future land use is a high-density residential, and the zoning is multifamily high-density residential. The surrounding zoning districts to the north, east, and west are multifamily high-density residential, and the south is a neighborhood commercial. The lot characteristics: the subject property is a vacant corner lot fronting Fox Hollow Drive and South Street. The lot is approximately 0.36 acres in the Fox Hollow subdivision. The abutting lots to the north, south, east, and west are vacant multifamily residential lots. A 10-foot drainage and utility easement is located along the west lot line. The property is currently a vacant residential land. The proposed use is for the development of a 4-unit multifamily dwelling. The applicant is requesting 2 variances at 3506 Fox Hollow Drive. The first request is to allow less than the required 20-foot landscape yard buffer for a multifamily development within the Fox Hollow subdivision. Section 30-332 of the code requires a 20-foot landscape buffer for multifamily residential development. The applicant wishes to reduce the landscape yard buffer to 10 feet. The second request is to waive the requirement of a terminal island that shall be required for each row of interior parking spaces to terminate the row of parking. Section 30-382 of the code states terminal islands shall be required for each row of interior parking spaces to terminate the row of parking. Approval of the variance would allow for less than the required 20-foot landscape buffer and waive the required terminal island. The required landscape yard buffer on the north, south, and west sides is 20 feet, and the east side along South Street landscape yard buffer is 30 feet. A terminal island minimum width shall be 15 feet and no less than 10 feet on a site less than 2 acres with an administrative approval. The applicant explained that due to the property being platted in 1983, complying with the existing requirements of a 20-foot landscape yard buffer and terminal parking islands will cause the property to be non-cohesive and incompatible with the surrounding lots. The applicant wishes to develop the property so that it appears identical with the surrounding structures. The applicant believes the design of the proposed development should be similar in architecture, landscaping, and parking conditions. The small size of the subject property appears to impact the applicant's ability to meet all required land development regulations, such as parking, landscape buffers, building setbacks, parking area, landscaping, and etc. A 20-foot landscape yard and terminal island would cause a decrease in the available parking dimensions and building footprint. By reducing the size of a landscape yard buffer and waiving the required terminal islands should not impact the number of plantings. The property was platted in 1983 and the existing homes in the area were constructed in 1984 and did not require the 20-foot landscape yard requirements. Staff recommends approval to allow less than the required 20-foot landscape yard buffer to a 10-foot landscape yard buffer on the south side only, with a condition that the landscaping requirements are met. The staff recommends denial of the variance to waive the requirement of a terminal island to terminate the row of parking. However, staff recommends instead to reduce the size of the terminal islands located between the parking lot and the building to 5 feet and waive the required terminal islands on the south side of the parking lot with a condition that all required terminal island trees are placed within a landscape buffer. The north, south, and west landscape yard requires a 20-foot landscape buffer. The east requires a 30-foot landscape buffer. The provided landscape buffer on the east appears to be 26 feet, while the west landscape buffer is 25 feet. By shifting the building 5 feet to the west, applicant would meet the required east landscape buffer. Also, the site plan shows a provided south landscape buffer of approximately 16 feet. By allowing a reduced landscape buffer, the property can accommodate reduced terminal islands of the 5 feet between the building and parking lot to provide additional space for safer parking. However, the site will not be able to accommodate the full size of the terminal islands and a landscape yard buffer without reducing the size of the proposed building. The proposed building is consistent in size to the other lots in the Fox Hollow subdivision. In granting the variance to reduce the landscape yard buffer and reduce the required terminal islands, the literal interpretation of the provisions of the ordinance would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same zoning district under the terms of the ordinance. The variance will preserve the spirit of the ordinance and remain in harmony with its general purpose and intent.
Thank you. Any questions to Mr. Mesnick?
Are we gonna have to hear every lot in this particular development individually? They're gonna have to pay money to do the same thing we've already done how many times already?
I believe there is one for next month.
Which was my follow-up question. We addressed this exact or near exact matter last month or this year?
It's not exact because there are different recommendations to this one than there are in the others, and each lot stand on its own characteristics.
Of course.
And so that's how this one is being presented.
Is there terminal parking lots in any of the terminal parking islands in any of the Fox Hollow neighborhood?
Not that I'm aware of.
I didn't think so, but I couldn't remember everything that we said. Okay. Any other questions of staff? or comments?
No, the only thing I see, this is an in lot next to a street. Other than that, like the others have all been infill lots up to this point, so.
Okay. If there's no further questions to staff, then our first card, please.
Abby Offerman.
Offerman. Welcome back. Would you
Hello,
please state
thank
your
you.
name and address?
Abby Offerman, 2487 Aloma Avenue, Winter Park, Florida.
Thank you. You have the floor, ma'am.
I'm just here in support of the staff recommendations. We took a look at it and drew it out on our lot and think it's a good solution.
So to clarify, there was, my reading of the recommendation was to, are you wanting to move your building 5 feet?
Yes, we're going to move the building 5 feet from the original proposed drawing that we provided towards the west to accommodate the 30-foot landscape buffer on the east side.
Okay, and what about the parking terminal?
We're in agreement with doing a 5-foot parking terminal island between the parking lot and the building and waiving it on the south side of the parking lot. So exactly as staff written.
Okay, so if I'm understanding that exactly as staff written, the applicant is agreeable to that. Any other questions for Ms. Offerman? Seeing none? Okay, then I guess we'll close the meeting for right now, the public hearing portion. We can discuss amongst ourselves. I'll bring it back to the board. Any discussion? No? Okay. Then I will entertain a motion. Mr. Taylor did the last one.
I'll take a stab at it. Okay, I want to make a motion here on variance number 17-2023 that we accept it with the conditions as proposed by the applicant. You say, well, as proposed by staff.
I think we might be.
But the only thing, but,
a little
but
more
okay,
specific.
what they proposed is, they're gonna move the building 5 feet. And that they're, staff recommended,
May I help?
yes, please.
So moving the building is not part of the variance order.
But it makes, they said that they'll be able to accommodate the 30-foot landscape, buffer, whereas staff proposed that they offer a smaller one, wasn't that the case?
Right, and so
So
the,
that part goes away if they move the,
Hold on, let me hear
Move
what
the
council's
building.
suggestion is.
go ahead.
well, Josh said he would like to interrupt, so I would like him to say what he would like to say.
Okay, so along South Street, there is a required 30-foot landscape buffer. The current site plan they submitted shows that the building will be encroaching into the landscape buffer by 5 feet. They had an extra 5 feet that they could play with on the west side, so I proposed that they would shift the building over, which they agreed to do.
Okay.
What staff is recommending is to approve less than the required 20-foot landscape yard buffer to a 10-foot landscape yard buffer on the south side only,
So, got it.
with the condition that the landscaping requirements are met. And staff recommends denial of the variance to waive the requirement of a terminal island. However, staff recommends instead to reduce the size of the terminal island between the parking lot and the building to 5 feet and to waive the required terminal islands on the south side parking.
So staff's recommendation already considered shift, like it already assumed the building would be shifted 5 feet when it made this recommendation. Is that correct? 'Cause I think that's not how we understood it.
Yes.
I think that's what the confusion was. Okay.
Because the positioning of the building is separate from the buffers and the widths that you are going to make your variance to.
Right. Okay. So Dr. Eccles, would you like to try your motion one more time in light of that content? She says no. Do we have
Okay.
another taker?
No, let me try to get the wording right. Okay. I'm going to make a motion that we, and I have to go through all the specific recommendations of staff with the reduced end cap size, and I can't make the motion. Somebody else can do it.
All right. Is there anyone else who's willing to take a look at page 33 of our PDF? And
It really
try-
starts on 32.
It does, yeah, right. It's the top of 32, or the bottom of 32 and the top of 33. Anyone else want to try a stab at the motion?
Can you give your recommendations one more time?
It's right there.
But you want me to read this whole paragraph? No. Okay, the reduced.
Here's a printed copy.
Would she be allowed to state
someone's-
as stated in the report instead of having to read out every word, Counselor?
Would you like to make a motion to allow less than the required 20-foot landscape yard buffer to a 10-foot landscape yard buffer on the south side only, with a condition that the landscaping requirements are met, and to reduce the size of the terminal islands between the parking lot and building to 5 feet, and waive the required terminal islands on the south side of a parking lot, with the condition that all required terminal island trees are placed within a landscape buffer?
Yes. Yes, I approve.
Yes, that's your motion. Yes, that's your
Yes.
motion?
Yes, that's the motion yes. That's the motion that I'm proposing.
All right, I have a motion by Dr. Beckles on the language articulated by council. Do I have a second?
Yes.
I have a second. Any further discussion regarding this motion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Member Beckles?
Yes.
Member Van Deven?
Yes.
Member Wheelis?
Yes.
Chairwoman Smith Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Taylor?
Yes.
Your variance is approved, despite our difficulties in articulating what we wanted to do. So, ma'am, you're good to go. You're welcome to stick around for the last couple of minutes. You're also welcome to head out. All right, which brings me to petitions and requests from the public present, of which there are none. But Ms. Kim, you have anything up there?
No, ma'am.
All right, any reports from staff or council?
There are, I believe, 3 variants coming up next month.
But Josh isn't going to be here to tell us about it because he's leaving us.
Where are you going?
North Carolina,
North Carolina?
yes,
Like, for good.
Like permanently.
yes.
That's exciting and sad.
And it's exciting and sad. We wish you well.
Yes.
We thank
Thank
you
you.
for your time here.
Thank you.
Your reports are very thorough and your presentation was very nice. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right. Well, okay. So bye, Josh. Chelsea, anything?
No, nothing else.
All right. I guess then from the board, anything?
You said there were 3 for next month? Is that correct at this point?
That is correct, yeah.
Wow. I don't know. Bring a lunch.
Okay. Yeah. Pack a snack. All right, folks. Then I will adjourn the meeting at 6:43 p.m. Thank you.